What's up, everybody? This is the Patriot Man here. And can we stop living through major events? First COVID, then the Halo TV show, and now this. Now this, of all things. It's a crazy time to be in this country, I tell you what. The former president, current presidential candidate, and most notably the famous star from the hit movie Home Alone 2, Donald Trump narrowly escaped an assassination attempt. And I can't imagine what would have happened if it was successful. Now, I usually stay away from like explicit political topics on my channels, like how I think the country should be run. You know, who gets what, when, where, why, and how. That's politics. Now, when it comes to politics in video games and like discussing that as part of an art form, then yeah, I'm much more open about that. But I try not to be divisive on my channel when it comes to like actual political opinions. And
I will be voting for Hillary Clinton.
But you know, as a citizen of the United States of America, seeing a former president almost being assassinated is kind of an important thing. It's really important. Kind of scary, because the last time a president was this close to being killed was Ronald Reagan, you know, which was far before my time. I also want to point out one of the funniest things a president has done. This is Ronald Reagan sometime after he was shot.
See that it marked the history of this city. America missed me.
Like when you think about JFK or Abe Lincoln, for anybody under the age of 40, it doesn't feel like that actually happened, right? We've never lived through a president almost being assassinated. I lived through George Bush dodging some shoes like a fucking pro. Look at that. Look at that dodge. I'm all right. He thinks it's funny. If he didn't dodge that, that shoe is hitting him. So, you know, like, that's the extent I've lived through as far as a American president being attacked in public, I guess, or maybe I haven't paid attention. Now, I'm sure most of you are probably familiar with a lot of the details. It's kind of like world-breaking news. You know, guy sneaks up onto a roof, had far too much time to get up there, somehow was able to get some shots off, even though there's Secret Service everywhere, and people on the side were, like, pointing him out, you know, and trying to talk to police. All this crazy stuff. Basically, this shouldn't have been able to happen at all. As controversial as this is to say, I don't think it's a good look for our country to have a president get assassinated. I don't think that's a good look for anybody. Looking at this diagram, he tilted his head at like the last half second, like almost at the same time the bullet was fired, I would guess. And if he hadn't done that, it's entirely probable this bullet would have gone in his brain and like he would have been killed, which is insane to think about. And you know, this is kind of serious because somebody in the audience died and I think a couple others were injured. I guess the reason I'm making this video is to talk about toxicity in politics. And, you know, try to keep things a little bit lighthearted with some memes and whatnot. I see a lot of people freaking out about this, which is totally understandable. Personally, I didn't think politics was divisive or toxic enough. I really just want to like rattle someone's cage, like a cage with an animal. I just want to rattle it. No, things have been very toxic, and I typically stay out of this stuff because, you know, having spent some time like listening to political discussions about this and reading all these tweets online, I just gotta say, man, I'm so thankful that gaming is somehow far less toxic than politics. And that's why I never really cared to like express my own political opinions. Number one, because I think that's divisive. I don't think people care to hear about that, you know. And thirdly, my opinions on video games are vastly more interesting. That's what people show up for, you know. I always get so many messages about like how my videos helped somebody through a hard time, which I think is, it makes me feel awesome to know that people actually think that. So I do want to keep my channel as kind of a place where you can just go for some fun gaming content and just relax and try not to let what's going on in the country like fuck with your head too much, you know? Now, there's also been a lot of conspiracy theories about this shooting, and I'm surprised nobody has brought up Alex Mason or the numbers. Nobody. Where was he? Where was Alex Mason?
Mr. Mason, take care of it.
Like to make me kill my own president.
I don't think these jokes are too offensive, but like, I always try to find the humor in situations to like cope in my own mind. Like that's my coping mechanism. But I also have a somewhat newfound respect for people whose channels consist entirely of political discussions, because it seems like the most toxic and draining type of content to make. You need a certain thick skin to talk about this shit all the time. But it does make me thankful that like the toxicity I engage with is like fucking people still debating which Halo and which Call of Duty is the best. And I hope those debates never end, because the toxicity in politics and how divisive it is nowhere near those levels of like video game opinion, bad or good. And as I see people freaking out about everything, you know, saying it's the end of democracy, end of all this and that, I'm reminded of a quote from one of my favorite games.
Look, everybody always figures the time they live in is the most epic, most important age to end all ages. But tyrants and heroes rise and fall, and historians sort out the pieces. But don't start thinking this war, your war, is more important than any other war just because you're in it.
And I feel like that always gives some pretty interesting perspective of like, whatever's currently going on, we think it's the most important thing in the history of mankind ever. That's probably how every generation of humans have ever felt. You know what I mean? So, it's not the end of the world. Hopefully. Hold on. TMZ has obtained footage of the shooter claiming he has, well, let's just listen to this.
I have a 10-inch penis, and...
Don't know what to say. I feel like I have 1,000 jokes in my throat, and none of them are coming out. All I can say is, well, there's one thing I have in common with this shooter, and one thing only. Is that too bad? Jeez, I really don't want to fucking offend anybody. This guy is a colossal piece of shit. I mean, obviously, political violence, you know, it worked in founding this country, but it ain't 1776 no more. You know what I mean? Times are different. What's crazy is that we don't yet know the explicit reasons why the shooter did this. They say he was a registered Republican, he donated to a Democratic Party, he was wearing a Demolition Ranch shirt, which by the way has absolutely fucking nothing to do with this. I can't imagine what this fucking guy is feeling right now, knowing that the would-be assassin of the former president was wearing his merchandise. But it obviously doesn't mean anything. Like, I've been to Demolition Ranch twice, and you know, everybody who hosted it has always been super kind and nice and nothing but hospitable to me. Yeah, this is Brandon Herrera. Matt had nothing to do with this, just like PewDiePie had nothing to do with Christchurch, just because the shooter said subscribe to PewDiePie. Ridiculous from the media. Yeah, I mean, it's just so fucking weird that like he was wearing a shirt for them. Like, was that an intentional thing the shooter did? Did he plan this? It seems like his plan was to do something awful and to sow as much confusion as possible. But they haven't found anything, like no smoking gun of why he did this, no manifesto. It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. I don't know. I'm sure whatever I say in this video will be outdated at some point when new information comes along, but these times are so crazy. Like, check this shit out. They made a trading card for this already. Capitalism is crazy sometimes. Like, this is insane. How does this card game work? And will this card be meta? Is the true question. Oh, wow, look at that. PSA 10 already. Oof, oof. That's gonna go for a pretty good price on TCG Player. But the real question is, will it be able to match my Star Wars Unlimited cards that you can't even see? But these are supposed to be really good cards. After hearing about the shooting, this was my first thought. The plan? Fly to the UK, go to the Winchester, have a nice cold pint, and wait for all this to blow over.
How's that for a slice of fried gold?
Yeah, boy!
Which I think is a solid plan, but maybe instead I'll go to the moon. Seems like a safe place. Also, I just learned about the existence of this game called Mr. President, which released in 2016. Now, this is very bizarre stuff. Can you take a bullet for the soon-to-be president of the United States of America? You play as Dick Rockhard Johnson, a bulletproof man, the best bodyguard money can buy. He is sworn to protect the most hated presidential candidate of all time, Ronald Rump. Liberal media has rigged the election and tarnished his glowing public image. Now they are trying to end his life. You need to leap, flip, fling, roll, and many other verbs to get in between Rump and certain death. If Rump dies, who is going to pay for your Netflix sub? How are you going to pay for your lifetime of student loans or overinflated medical bills? Where will you get the money for another dumb physics game? You better save the man or you don't get the money. Very lore accurate, 10 out of 10 IGN. This is insane. Predicted the future, based on true events, aged like a fine wine. Too real for my liking. How? Life is crazy. I hope everyone's mental state up here, everybody watching this, is like good. You know what I mean? Whether or not you're for Trump or against Trump or whatever. At the end of the day, I want to use my platform as a place to talk about video games and try to make people laugh and leave feeling like they learned something. I don't know if you learned anything from me in this video, but the Mr. President game, might have to review that. Don't know if I'll be put on a list if I do. Regardless of how like passionate you feel, just remember that people are more than the sum of their political beliefs. Like, just because someone's in a political party that you don't agree with or you don't align with, it doesn't mean they're not human, and you shouldn't try to treat them like human. Sounds like a sentence an alien would say, but I think it's true. I've got friends, relatives, colleagues from all over the political spectrum, and I think when you try to boil down someone's worth as a human being to what political party they support, it doesn't work. People are complex, you know? Arthur Morgan is a very complex person. He did some bad things, he did some good things. And even though he wasn't a good man, he did his best to become one. So I guess that's my lesson for today is don't forget other people's humanity, and more importantly, don't forget your own. So when you go out there and you go into the trenches of political discussion, just be fucking careful, man. Be fucking careful. Also remember, just like the shooter, I have a 10-inch cock too. Yeah, so what do you guys think about all of this and this rather unscripted video I did? Just I just felt like I needed to talk about this, well, even if I just rambled about nothing. But let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Do you think America is doomed? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Stay tuned for more awesome gaming content. This was not awesome gaming content, but stay tuned for more awesome gaming content. Peace.